Hello, this is Chek. Welcome back to my Miraculous Living series. Today we're going to explore Part 3, the power of unconditional love. In Part 1, I shared that this information comes from The Physics of the Soul by Amit Goswami, where he references Sri Aurobindo's 4 qualities of the masters that have the ability to shall we say, be supermental beings, as I've been sharing, which is those who access their full potential, the potential available to all of us. And those qualities that Aurobindo described are the key characteristics that each of these masters display in their ability to be supermental beings, or to create to their potential, which each of them is teaching us to do. So we first looked at transforming the negative to the positive. Then the second quality was the power to create beyond the laws of physics, which we talked about. And today we'll talk a little bit about unconditional love, because it's a concept that's quite confusing to most people or misunderstood. So first of all, you'll see that the masters were able to use the power of unconditional love. Unconditional love in my 4-doctor system relates to Dr. Quiet. Dr. Quiet means that which is whole in and of itself. All things that can be known as this or that or emerge as existence are things that are moving. They vibrate. Dr. Quiet is the place of stillness. So in some philosophies of thought, quiet would be, or stillness would be, first principle, and all things that move would be second principle, creation. Dr. Quiet and unconditional love both equate to the absolute, that which is beyond measure, and that which contains all that is measurable. So an absolute only has 2 qualities. Because it can't be measured, there's nothing there, therefore it's empty of anything that can be measured. Yet because everything's here, i.e. the universe, we know that it contains everything that can be known or measured, but we can't really wrap our head around it because our conscious mind operates in relative principles. This is bigger than that. The earth is this big relative to the sun. So when you take all that relativity away, the ego mind has nothing to work with, which is why unconditional love is quite a tricky concept, because it is not something that you can give as a relative offering, or it's not unconditional love, it's now conditional love. So some of the things I wanted to share is that the master must become unconditionally selfless. That's how a master accesses unconditional love. And to do that, you have to have healed yourself to a very, very tremendous degree, because in order to be selfless, the ego has to be willing to let go of its sense of wants, needs, control, issues of fear, issues of body. So it takes quite an evolved human being to actually transcend the barriers of perceived needs, even breath. Great masters often can shut their hearts off at will, because they can literally go through the gate of life and death as we know it, because they're capable of becoming selfless, at which time there really is no perceptible self to be maintained. So paradoxically, they can have an embodied self in one location, yet be fully one with the universe at the same time. So it looks to the naked eye like they're sitting there, but really they're everywhere, including within you. So next, great masters using unconditional love, they do not do things to others. So for example, you hear in the Bible of Jesus doing healings and various masters doing healings, throughout antiquity. But many people don't understand that the masters that access unconditional love don't do things to people. It is that the healing is done through them. So let me give you an example of that, and I've got some exercises to help you do that. If unconditional love is unconditional, and we access unconditional love or pure potential for any given reason, if someone says, I love my son David unconditionally, that's a misunderstanding of the term, because to love my son means you're not loving a daughter, and to love David means you're loving David, not Susie or Bobby. Therefore, that is not really unconditional love. That is a form of high level of empathetic and compassionate love, or love for one's child, or love for any given thing. And it's certainly admirable to love anybody with that degree of connectivity. But unconditional love is not something that you go into with any condition. In other words, a master wants to connect to wholeness and allow you to be in their presence and to convey the presence of wholeness to you. When a master connects to wholeness, then their entire field, their state of being, shifts to a vibrational state that is very, very, shall we say, stable and whole. And it brings us into a state of harmony because they're in a state of harmony. It's well known masters all over the world can walk into a room and shift the entire room. I think most of you understand that. So the real point I'm making here is that the master sets the intention, but they often use words like God's will be done. Instead of saying, I would like to heal this person of such and such a disease, they will connect to that soul and ask Great Spirit or God or whatever access point they use for unconditional love, what is the will of unconditional love? What is the will of Great Spirit? What is the will of consciousness itself, the whole? That will be channeled through them. So the distinction here is they're not actually doing something to you with unconditional love. That would be to condition love. They're creating an opportunity for you to experience the wholeness that they can get to by putting themselves in a selfless state and opening their heart in every direction at once. Hard concept for some people to grasp, but if you get next to somebody that can do it, this is why a lot of people like to go to very skilled meditation masters, because they actually condition the whole room with their own inner stillness. So if you want to learn to meditate or do Tai Chi or Qigong, learn from someone who's achieved a high level of inner stillness, and they can take you there very, very quickly. I often have students say to me, for example, Paul, how come I can get into these deep states when I do Tai Chi with you, but I can't do it on my own? And that's because my years of practice conditions the whole yard so that when someone's with me, they're kind of catching the wave. Well, imagine somebody who's so evolved that they can go into absolute stillness and lose all sense of self-identity and know that they're not going to die and that they're completely safe because they're with unconditional love. That kind of person can create a much more profound conditioning effect on anyone they direct their intention to. So, next, we want to look at the intention, unconditional love, and then the experience. So the master sets the intention, they let go to unconditional love, and then the experience comes forth as the offering from unconditional love. So here's a way you can do this in your own life. State your dream, i.e. your intention for yourself. So if you're looking for a lover or a partner or a business partner or financial support to do something that's important to you, get very, very clear on what your intention is. Remember the 3 elements of effective dream creation, A, B, C. We read them backwards: clarity, belief, and action. So once you have clarity, belief in your own dream, and you're willing to take action, then turn that over to unconditional love and ask for the abundance that is to support you in a way that is congruent with your life path and with the universe itself, and then be brave enough to let go. Do your part. Walter Russell says the universe moves towards you at the same pace you move towards it. But the difference is you don't act needy. You don't act like you're waiting for someone to give you a gift. Like, you know, Daddy's on the way home and it's Christmas Eve night and there's going to be a trunk full of toys. It's more like you trust that that which is the wholeness of you is resonating with that of you that wants to dream. And by doing your part, you'll know, because you'll have a sense of ease and flow. And sometimes when things seem to not be working out, it may be that you're being redirected to something that is either essential to your dream but you don't realize it yet, or you may not realize that you've already unconsciously made commitments at a higher level in your own soul path, and that you're actually being redirected to a reawakening as to what your authentic, shall we say, life opportunity is at this time, or soul connection or soul commitment. Okay? So here's some tips for experiencing unconditional love. One, this is a sort of my own variation on what's called the death breath practice, which is a practice used in East India, or in East Indian or Hindu practices, and probably others. So here's a simple thing you can do. Just take out a stopwatch, take a deep breath, hold your breath as long as you can and time it. Then the next time, take a deep breath, but this time inside yourself, just relax and chant, I am safe in unconditional love. I am safe in unconditional love. I am safe in unconditional love. When you first do it, you're going to feel the loss of air. As you start running out of air, you're going to feel the body get afraid, and you're going to feel the impulse that is natural when any part of you thinks it's dying, and it starts to struggle. That will rise up as an expression of fear. But if you chant to yourself, I am safe in unconditional love, and you completely attach yourself to the words so you're fully present with it, and you are brave enough to embody that belief, I am safe in unconditional love. I am safe in unconditional love. And just feel the relaxation and the ease that emerges within you, knowing that you're safe in unconditional love and that there is no such death unless we believe it. Then see what happens when you time your breath that way. If you don't get any significant change, it probably means either you're having a hard time convincing yourself to believe it, so your fear of death is really the dominant theme, or you just need to go deeper into the practice of harmonizing your thoughts and your emotions so that you're really congruent with your words. But that's one way to access it. And most people will find that when they relax themselves inside and trust, and the fear mechanism is disabled by unconditional love, by knowing that you're safe, then your metabolism slows down and everything in your body begins to show ease, which means if you live that way more often, your metabolism would balance and you would show ease in your creations. Okay? Next, envision yourself without the elements. So we identify ourselves as a physical body, like I'm Paul, this is what I look like, here I am, I'm moving my hands. But the reality of it is, if you say, Paul, well, who are you? If you say this is your body, well, whose body is it? What are you? Well, I'm earth. We know that I'm earth because I have to eat things made of earth to sustain myself or I'll disappear. I'm water. Human body's about 70% water. I'm fire because I have metabolism that produces warmth. I'm air. I have to breathe. And I'm the element ether or space because I take up space and it's hard for anyone else to stand in this spot. So, yet I know that I'm something beyond that. I know that I'm more than water because I know I need to reach for water. I know I'm more than food because I know I need to go get food. I know I'm more than air because I have to remember to breathe air, so there's somebody remembering that they need air. And I know I'm more than space because I'm aware that not only am I this space, but wherever I project myself to, I can be. For example, I can project myself to the other side of the world and tell you what I'm seeing. Not everyone can do that, but I can. So I know that I'm more than space because I can go anywhere in space. And I can even enter into realms of spacelessness, which I do often in Tai Chi and Qigong and meditation and even shamanic practices. So if you ask yourself, who am I without all that? Well, you find out something interesting. Well, you're everywhere, you're nowhere, you're everything and you're nothing. So once you realize that unconditional love manifests itself in the conditional for the explicit opportunity to experience love, which requires a subject and an object, an I and a thou, well then when you realize that you're doing it for love, you can let go to the all of love, and that helps you to get past the concept of self as only that which is embodied and begin to perceive yourself in the expanses, not only of the elements, but in consciousness itself. Because ultimately when you get rid of the earth, water, fire, air, and space of you, then all that's left is consciousness. And consciousness, paradoxically, does not require space, but fills all space. So, envision yourself without the elements and go first without the self to the self of all of us. Once you lose your body elementally, you're with everybody. But if you go beyond everyone, you go to the self, which means that which is conscious, period. Next, you can draw a little diagram like a target. Put a dot in the middle, another ring, you put as many rings as you want to. And then a chant that I created with my friend Angie Lustrick is, I open my heart to the one, I open my heart to everyone. So what you can do is focus yourself on the dot. Sit back and just look at the dot and say, I open myself to the one, and see only one. Just look at the dot and know that relative to unconditional love, the universe is but a dot. So there you can see the relative potential of all things, and you can see yourself, well, where am I? If I get close enough, I can only see atoms and cells, and if I get far enough away, I can't see anything. And soon I can't see the world, and soon I can't see the galaxy, and soon I can't see the universe, because it doesn't exist if you go into an absolute proportion. So if you focus yourself down to where there's only you, and you realize you are everything, then you can enter into the experience of spacelessness, timelessness, and being without condition, and it's quite profound. If it's easier for you to expand yourself, you can say, I am part of we. So this is the we line. And once I realize myself, I, Paul Chek, I'm in relationship to you right now, that's a we. I can say, well, I, Paul Chek, exist with and as humanity and the world itself, or nature itself. So you can continue until you reach the edge of your imagination as far as what the one contains. So I open my heart to the one means I open my heart to the whole circle, or to the emergence, the point of emergence. You can go in or out. I open my heart to everyone means that anything that exists within the circle, which would be the Tai Chi symbol in actuality, is an expression of you or a part of you, just like your arms and your organs are a part of you, but yet, paradoxically, not all of you. Okay? Next, and this is one of my favorites, just give love unconditionally. And I have ways that I've practiced doing this because, you know, it takes quite a bit of transition to learn to do it. So some simple ways is love whatever it is that you love to do, for one. If you like working on your cars, and you know, I used to like building race cars and driving fast cars, and I had a real love of the machinery and the spirit of the machine. When I raced cars, I had a real deep spiritual connection to my race cars. So anything that you can love and come into harmony with, you can actually have very profound experiences of connection that go beyond the confines of our laws of physics, which goes back to creativity beyond on the laws of physics. Once you sort of find out these interesting things, like there's actually a spirit to a motorcycle or a spirit to a car, or you can really get into working with stones and you can find, wow, there's actually some kind of strange and interesting consciousness within a stone. And by simply interacting with it, by just pure curiosity and the willingness to be open-minded to what's there, as opposed to having to try to fit into any socially contrived box, like you can't talk to rocks, that's a box. But the question is, can you feel rocks, and can you be present with rocks enough to get past your own ideas of what isn't there to find out what is there? Plants. Spend time with your plants. Notice how they behave. Notice how they react to different music. Notice how they react to different people in the house. Notice how they react to your own love and affection. Plants are neat because you can love them and they don't expect much back from you. Dogs, cats, birds, the forest, the trees, the river, whatever you can connect to without any fear of condition or needing to love a certain way. That allows you to experience love unconditionally. When you can practice giving love to a stone with the clear knowledge that you don't expect anything back, then that becomes natural to give to a plant or to an animal or to a friend or to a child or to a lover. And then all of a sudden, paradoxically, you find that you're able to give love without expecting it back, but all of a sudden you find yourself swimming in it because it seems to have this quality of wanting to come back. So that's my tips for today on our third quality, to access or utilize unconditional love, which is Dr. Quiet, the basis of all creation. Hope you enjoyed it today. I'll talk to you soon with part 4. Thank you for joining me.